Hey everybody, hope you're doing well. This is going to be a demo on React and REST today, and it's a kind of a fun little demo because this is something that I've actually done at home in a separate capacity because this is my style of humor, and now you're all being inflicted with it as well. But I am the type of person that appreciates a good dad joke, and as somebody with kids, it is my full right to make them. Um, we have this delightful website, iCanHasDadJoke.com. And every time you visit this site, you can get a new dad joke. Okay. And every time you visit this site, you can get a new dad joke. And the best part of this is not that it's a giant repository of dad jokes, which is incredible, but the fact is that you can query this via an API. And that's even better. So just to give you a quick little demonstration here. So I'm going to pop open my terminal quick, clear this out, clear, thank you. Curl, HTTPS, I think I need a flag for this. Yeah, there we go. I don't need a flag. I thought I did because of the S on there. But I can just do a direct query with curl or any other RESTful type of call, and it will return a dad joke. And it's basically their API is detecting who is visiting the site. Here, they're getting information that need to know his email, but basically they're seeing this is a JSON request coming in here, and here it's coming in as a HTTPS request. Their server is routing the data appropriately. It is a very nice RESTful API. And if you want to extrapolate here, and I'm taking a little bit too long to set up this this little bit, but you can add this to Slack, you could add this to Alexa, and I will hopefully try to splice in a picture of my thing at home, but I've got an e-paper display, and I'm gonna, let's see if I can do this maybe, um, where it will query this API once every, I think 20 minutes or something I've got it set, and I'll get a nice fresh dad joke up on a e-paper calendar display that I built at home. Kind of a derivative of the Magic Mirror projects that I'm sure you've all seen. Maybe not, but basically it's a Raspberry Pi powered thing. Anyway, this is the demo that we are going to be following today. This is a nice little one to get you up and running with React and RESTful calls. Basically, we're going to be using the Axios library, and we are going to be building two components. One of them is going to be our typical app, and the other one will be a joke of the day API. And depending on where we're at in the class where I put this video, we may or may not have seen exporting components at this point, so pay attention if we haven't, and if you've never seen it before, but otherwise, we'll kind of just run through this lab verbatim. So I'll have the link obviously below, but I want to show you what I would do. So first things first, we need to set up our brand new React application, right? So nothing different here. npx create React app, and let's call this joke of the day. So this will take a moment to get spun up, and we will get our little spinning React logo here once that is done. And before I start this application, I'm also going to install Axios. So we did this before when we did the Flask demo. And if you went out and did the Flask part of the homework, then you'll have done it as well. If you didn't, this is one way that we can reach out to other APIs. Other ones I think are Fetch, and I'm sure there's a handful of others, but I will be back in one moment after this finishes setting up, and I install Axios, and then I hit npm start. So, bye everybody. Okay, so you see the spinning logo, you know that we have run npm start. Probably took about 10 minutes on my computer just to give you an idea of the passage of time. The only thing that I did was I ran, let's see, I ran npm I Axios just to install the module inside of my directory, and then ran npm start. So that's the only difference that has happened off screen. But let's go ahead and now pop open our, so we don't need this terminal anymore. Yep. Let's pop open our app.js and let's tweak it a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to leave app.cs in, leave our return in, and we're going to get rid of everything else. And we're going to import React from React. And I don't know why that happened, but okay. Oh, well, I'm missing a, thanks for auto-completing. Appreciate that. Okay, so we have a basic app here. I could return, let's say div class name equals app, so that we have a match there. And let's add a comment. Comment. All right, so when we go ahead and refresh our page, we see nothing. We see no errors either. Oh, we see a bunch of errors. I take that back. Let's get out of this mode. What is this? Logo is not defined. Okay, where is the logo? Interesting. Logo is not being used anywhere. Okay, old error messages. That's all that's going on. Don't worry, nothing to see here. Okay, first and foremost now, let's go ahead and create our joke. So I'm going to go ahead and create joke.js. And this is also going to import React from React. We're also going to import Axios from Axios. Because again, that's just how we reference them. And now let's define our component here. And we're going to do this as an arrow function. So const joke equals arrow and return and div h1 joke of the day. All right, and then we need to export it. So this is where I kind of mentioned at the beginning, if we haven't talked about this yet, this is how we can do multiple components and import them into others, basically. So here we're exporting this component that we've got here. It's not doing anything yet other than returning a header tag, but now over in app.js, we also need to import joke from ./joke, okay? And we need to insert our component. So let's change our comment, show the joke of the day, and we're gonna say joke. So again, this is referencing a component. So we have joke as our HTML element-ish, right? So just JSX here. We are importing joke from joke, and this / means it's in the current directory. If I had put joke in like a components folder, I'd have to do a reference to that folder. So if I like source components, then joke, it'd be / components / joke if we were to go that route. But we're just leaving it at the same level here. Okay, so now when we go back to our page, here's my joke of the day. All right, I didn't even have to reload the page. It's just here, which is good. All right, make this touch smaller, scoot it over, and back to our code. Okay, now we have to go ahead and actually reference our API. This is where the RESTful bit's coming into play. So we are making a remote call to the Joke of the Day website. We are going to get a JSON object back, and we're going to basically deconstruct what we have and plop it onto our web page. Now, the Joke of the Day API is very, very easy to parse out. They can get much, much, much more complicated than what we're doing here, but it's kind of a nice starting point if you've never done this before. Okay, so let's first now go ahead and set up our state. So we're going to set up joke, set joke. So these are going to become part of our state. And I notice in the demo that there's a missing equal sign here. So if you're following the demo and you're ignoring me, there needs to be an equal sign between the const for the state setup. All right, so now we're also going to set up our API link. So const API, let's use their variable name, equals HTTPS dadjoke.com. And these again are consts because they shouldn't be changing. Now we're going to also set up an arrow function, const fetch data equals async, and got that. All right, so one thing to mention here, this is using the async function, meaning that this is going to run asynchronously or basically in parallel, or it's just going to kind of run on its own, and we're going to wait until we get a response back. If you're reaching out to an API, typically you want to do this because not all APIs will return immediately, and you might need to wait for them. Think of this, again, async is a JavaScript thing as well, so you hopefully know this from other projects. If you don't, that's fine. JavaScript promises are very similar. Basically, you are making your call, you are waiting until you get data back, and then you're doing something with it. I guess the long story short, don't start acting on your variables immediately. Wait until it actually comes back. Otherwise, bad things are going to happen. And this async call makes that super easy for us. So we're going to get our response. So const response, I'm going to do the full name, equals await axios.get. And we have our fun JavaScript insertion call here. So again, the backticks, $, curly braces, this is basically just inject this variable into a string. And we are going to say headers except, and I need to scroll over a touch here, make sure I've got everything right, application/JSON. Hopefully you remember from the very beginning that whole bit about headers. So we were telling this remote procedure call, well, it's not a remote procedure call here, it's a a RESTful call. Tell Axios to access this link, which is here, send the header that we are expecting a JSON object. All right, and we are actually going to log this in our console to see what we're getting back. So console.log response.data and data.joke. So we'll get two logged responses here. And this other bit, just to kind of tie off the await the async discussion. Await is our keyword for wait until we get a response back from our API. If you have an async function, you're going to need an await call as well. All right, so we have this, and that's where the demo ends for this a little bit. It's not going to work, by the way, because, so let me refresh here, use state is not defined. Oh, I forgot to import state. Glad that we looked at that before we moved on. At the top, I forgot to import use state. Now we should be good. Okay, refresh. No errors here. No console log, right? Again, this is where there's a missing bit in the demo. We need to actually go ahead and call fetch data. Now when we refresh, here is our packet. All right, and it's actually running twice, which is kind of interesting. But here, let's see, so this would be the first call. So here's our JSON object. This is our response.data. We see that packed inside of it is an ID, a joke, and a status code, and then the prototype for the object. And then the second print is basically the, it's just the joke parameter. So I can now reference this as response.data.id, response.data.joke, response.data.status. And hopefully you can extrapolate that you can check, hey, is the status code correct? If it's not 200, it didn't work, right? But here you can clearly see that it's working fine. I wonder if this is a Chrome thing actually, because the fact that I'm getting two responses is kind of odd, you know. So I don't need this call here, as more of demonstration purposes. All right, so now let's go ahead and actually do something with this. So first and foremost, we need to, in our fetch data, let's comment out our console log calls. And we need to set our joke as part of our state. So set jokes res.data.joke. So what we're doing is we are setting the joke parameter as part of our state for this component. All right. And if we refresh here, set jokes is not defined. Res is not defined. What did I do wrong? Typo. Set jokes. I called this one set joke. This is set jokes down here. So make sure the variables match, please. Res is not defined because I decided to go off script and call this response. And something just fell off my shelf here. Okay, now we are good. Issue here, variable names didn't match. That's all it was. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and now let's give this div class name equals joke underscore underscore. So we'll follow that. Joke of the day. And now let's do fetch data from joke API. All right, and they have a button, and it's basically just going to go ahead and map down the index to that. So this 1, 2, yeah, okay. Selecting something off screen. Alrighty, button on click uppercase equals fetch data. So whenever we call this or we click this button, it's going to run the fetch data call, load new joke. And now we're going to have kind of a slight if statement here. So if we have a joke and we map it, joke.map, oops, j index, parenthesis arrow function. Okay, so this is going to be our first line here. We're going to spit out a div, class name equals data, key equals index, and close this off. And we're going to spit out j. So basically what we're doing here, this is a cute little shortcut for basically saying, do we have a joke? If so, map whatever is in that joke to what this, basically bind it to the inside of this class here. All right, so we should now check to see if I have any errors. We've got our button that popped up, and I click it, and there is our dad joke. And it's just going to keep refreshing every single time. And let's see, nothing too crazy in here. We're just seeing that div get replaced. Life is good. And that is pretty much the entirety of the demo in here. Now we could do things like, you know, we could append to our state instead of replacing it. If we wanted to build up a long list of jokes, we could do lots of different things. But the key here is that we are reaching out to a RESTful API. We are getting a JSON response back, and we are filling our component with whatever is currently in our state. And again, this might be one of the only sticking points that you have with this lab, I would expect. So definitely give that a look and, you know, kind of play around with it, because I think stuff like this is a lot of fun. And bonus, you get a lovely dad joke every single time you click a button. So perfect lab for me. Anyway, that is probably enough for this demo. I will see you all in the next one. Bye, everybody.